Hello, hello. Well, we're here again for another exciting episode of YOML. We are on book 93. Believe it or not, book 93 is one of a five-part reflection of one of our favorite book. And Chris, I will let Chris tell you about the book. But before he does that, if you are new to this channel, uh, I am a co-host and Chris is a co-host. My name is True Win, and Chris here. We are basically the co-founders of company, and we do this year of magical learning for anyone who is interested in finding their values and their missions, and finding meaningful work, meaningful relationships. So, and like always, if you like the video, press click the like button, and if you would like to hear more from us, hit the subscribe and hit the bell to get notified. So without further ado, let's Christian choose the one of our favorite book.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. It's I decided to write a five-part reflection for each of my top five books because I don't know why. I guess it's my journey here,
and there's many lessons you can learn from one book.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those books that just sticks in your mind.
There's no rule. There's no rules.
There's no rules here. Right. So actually, it's kind of funny that you say that because today I signed up for this thing called what's it called, bookshop.org or whatever, where you can build your own kind of like bookstore. Okay. I'm building that for I haven't told you about this. Obviously, this is the first time I'm sharing that with you. So I'm building that for us for the year of magical learning. So I'm putting all the books that we are reading on there. And actually I'll put it in the chat here for you. So all day long I was, putting those things in there, and it made me actually realize I'm only actually a book like 195 or something like that. Some of the books wouldn't come up for some reason on the list here. So, but like I'm at reflection like 212 or whatever. That's because I, have been breaking the rules, where I,
what rule?
There is no rules, right? Yeah. So,
but how can you break a rule when there's no rule?
Well, it's really the year of magical learning is 365 reflections off of almost 365 books. It'll be probably like three.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is some of these books, like the book we're talking about today, it's like, I mean, the guy spent, his, I don't know, 40, 50 years compiling this concept and the thoughts he has and orchestrate in a way that give us, the sequence for making things happen, right? And so, well, you say, well, not all books are created equal. And if you have so many things you can learn from one book, it's not about how many books you read. It's what are the lessons that you learned. And I think that's the central theme of the year of magical learning. It's not a year of magical reading books, right?
right, exactly. Yeah, this is about learning in action, right? This is about understanding stuff, not just learning stuff, but understanding stuff and then comprehending stuff, right? So actually that's a great segue into this particular reflection because I mean, I don't know, you want to talk about what 7 Habits is at a high level? Give a quick intro of the book.
I think you'll do a better job of it than me, so I don't want to take away the dramatic and the essence of Stephen Covey's lifetime work. And even after that, right now, his son is actually continuing on this work as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really nothing life shattering, I don't think, in terms of each one of the 7 habits, but you're right. Like it's the way that he wrote the book and the detail that he wrote it, and compiling pretty much all of his wisdom that he has learned over the course of his life to put together 7, I wouldn't even call them, habits. I would really call them more ideas or frameworks of how to for personal discipline, and then interpersonal how to make yourself the best person you can be, and habits around, or if you want to call them habits, around,
right. I think it's a lesson to live by,
right.
It's like first things first, right? And learn
be proactive,
to be exactly. Try to understand, try to understand before you can be understood. These are concepts and lessons that you want to take with you as as a tool for life.
Right. So I think it's the first three habits are all focused on pretty much self-mastery. And then the last or 4 through 6 are more interpersonal, how to like master connecting with others. And then the last one's really more about, it's called sharpening the saw, which is about kind of rejuvenation and making sure that you're staying fresh and making sure that the blade doesn't get dull, I guess, as you're going through these things every single day and making sure that you can do them all the time, Now, to live the 7 habits is not easy. I don't know that that's a comprehensive list. I'm not saying this is like the Bible of, anything like that. It was just a really good book, and it gave you a lot of things to think about. So, myself personally, I think everybody's probably heard of this book, and in some way, shape, or form. I think it, I don't know. I didn't know what I thought about this book before this journey began. In terms of, I just, I was a little weary of self-help books, when I was younger, before this whole journey. And these days I'll read anything, but this was one of those books that lived up to the hype. And I fully think that everybody should read this book at some point in time in their life, and in my personal opinion. So that's why it's one of our top 5 favorites. And it's one of the books that we have put into the quest, for other people when they're starting their own journey in Clubney. And it's something that we're all passionate to talk about. So on to the reflection. That's 7 habits in a nutshell as to why it's important to us and why we enjoyed it. So the first reflection I wanted to kick this one off with, as we're going to be doing the next 5 days on this one, is the idea that I didn't understand this book until I lived this book. And what I mean by that is there's a story to this book, actually, for me personally. So at the beginning of 2020, so in January of 2020, we were presenting to my team at work. I work at Salesforce, and we always talk about our plan to make plan, right? The new fiscal year was starting, and we were meeting with our team, and we were setting our goals for the year, and excuse me, whether that be personal goals or professional goals. And one of the goals that I picked that year in 2020 was to try to read 1 book a month. That was just a goal that I'd randomly picked. I thought, hey, I haven't been spending a lot of time concentrated learning on, a book around work or business or life or whatever. And I thought that would be a good way to, push myself and challenge myself in 2020. So the first book that we already have gone through in the past that I read in January of 2020 was Hope is Not a Strategy. Second book that I read on month 2, which would be February of 2020, was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The reason I picked this book is my department leader, his name is Mike. He's an awesome guy. He's just, I don't know, he's somebody I really respect as a leader and a person in general. I think that he's just an amazing leader. He just swears by the 7 habits. Like, I mean, literally, he talks about it all the time. I feel like I've heard him mention the 7 habits, book in reference in our department meetings every Friday. Like, I don't know, at least every other department meeting, he drops some sort of a 7 habit, line or whatever. So this book was something that I knew was really important to him and valuable to him. The first book that I read was actually, I asked my own boss, like, hey, what would be the book you'd recommend? The second book, I was like, hey, I'll just keep asking people, I guess, and see what I get. So I asked Mike, and he was like, well, have you read the 7 habits before? And I go, no, I actually haven't. And he was like, well, you know what, it's my favorite book, so go that route. And I go, okay, why not? So I actually downloaded this one as an audio book, and I tried 30 minutes a day, right? Like I was doing with the first book. It was my goal. It's just like 30 minutes a day. It's a pretty long book too, and for somebody that didn't read or consume books, I guess, in any way, shape, or form regularly, I mean, this was a slog for me. I mean, I was like, man, this is a lot of heavy content. I was liking what I was hearing, but it was heavy content. I remember reading it on or listening to it a couple times at the Y on the treadmill. I remember trying to pick it up when I was like going to the grocery store or something like that, or like just finding 10-15 minutes here and there. And I was like, man, this book just feels like it's never ending. Like, I was like, I really like what I'm hearing, but I was like, God, this is just a really long book, and really heavy content. And then about 3/4, I didn't know if I was going to finish the book that month. I was like, shit, I don't know. I really don't know if I'm going to be able to get this one done. It was about 3/4 of the way through the month, and I had a tennis tournament that I was playing in down in Evansville, Indiana, which is about 3 hours from where I live in Indianapolis. And I was like, you know what? I'm listening to this book on the drive down there. I was like, I'm gonna finish this thing. You know, I think I had about like 5 hours left in the book and on the audio version of it. And I was like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna finish this on this drive there and back. So I remember just driving down to this tournament, you know, just listening away, really loving everything I was hearing, really just deep in focus, you know, because I was back on these in back country Indiana roads that no traffic, you know, could really just kind of zone out and you know, focus in on the book, and was really enjoying everything I was hearing. And played my tennis tournament. It went well. We won, and it was for some team that I was playing in, and then drove back. And on the way back, about halfway back, I finished the book, and I just remember this feeling of like, oh my God, I finished this book. I was like, I can't believe it. I was like, man, this felt like it took forever. You know, I was like, I've just shit. I was like, this was a lot, you know? And I just felt really accomplished. I remember coming back home that night, and telling my wife, Felicia, I was like, I finished it. I got this thing done. I was really proud of myself, you know? And while I hadn't, you know, like, learned all the lessons from it, I was just proud that I finished it, right? You know, I'd set a goal and I was on my path, and you know, it was 2 months in, you know, I'd gotten that done, and I just, you know, just felt accomplished, right? And then, as we all know, in March 2020, that was the month that Amelia was born at 26 weeks and or 22 weeks and 6 days old, and you know, she lived here, survived for 39 days, and fought like crazy, and just an incredible source of this whole entire journey for me. But you know, just every single day a source of, I don't know, just incredible strength and courage, and just watching her fight, you know, was something I can never forget and seared into my memory. But this was right at the height of, you know, COVID. You know, I just started this monthly challenge, so I was like, you know what, I'll try to keep it going while I'm in the NICU, et cetera, et cetera. And then, you know, that's how this whole journey started, right? So it was funny. The reason I'm bringing all this context up is I read this book before this journey really began. Technically, I'm including it into the year of magical learning because I'll explain why in a second. But you know, this was really before the atomic bomb that went off in my life, right? When I was, you know, when I'm recalling back to the time that I first read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So fast forward to 2021. So in February of 2021, you and I had been now, you know, doing this stuff for we had met back in, what was it, July or August, I think, of 2020. And you know, we were deep into the Clovey formation, and we were doing our first, you know, quest, explorers going through the quests. And we were really starting to refine the program that we were running for all this stuff. And I don't know if you remember this, but I said, you know, I feel like I'm going to go back and redo the quest myself, just to see if all these books connect and all this other stuff. And so obviously 7 Habits is one of the books that I reread at that point in time, right? So I reread the 10 or 12 books or whatever it was that we had recommended for this quest, and I started off with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the craziest thing happened, you know, when I was reading this book the second time around. This time around, I was living the 7 Habits. Like my life had changed in 100%, 180 degrees, right? The atomic bomb blew up in my world. You know, I was putting first things first every single day. I was, you know, being proactive with everything that I was doing. I was sharpening the saw every single day. I was, you know, whatever, you name it, like, you know, and you know, not doing things alone, seeking win-win. I mean, living a core value driven life, you know, whatever it may be, right? And and I had been living that life since Amelia had passed away, really, which was in April of 2020. So it had been almost a year at this point in time that when I was rereading this book. And as I was rereading it this time around, like, it was a breeze for me because I was just churning through book after book after book at that point. You know, like I'm doing, you know, continuing today. It's not hard for me to finish a book like this now in 3 or 4 days or something like that, you know. Whereas before it was like pulling teeth to get it done, and where I felt like I, you know, just climbed Mount Everest or something like that in a month, you know. But the lessons in it, like recalling it, understanding, not just learning it, not just hearing it, not just, you know, feeling like, oh, okay, I know those 7 habits, I can recite off what they are now, you know, or whatever it may be. It was understanding it. It was comprehending what he was saying and comparing that back to my life and the journey that I was on today and going, oh, I get it. I get why these habits matter. I get why this framework is important. I get why I didn't design my life after Amelia had passed away because of this, because of this book. It was just something that organically developed. And then as I was going back through, and I was, maybe subliminally, some of these messages were still in my head as I was doing some of the stuff that I was doing. I don't know, but at the end of the day, like it was just interesting when I read it again the second time around, where I was like, holy shit, I've been kind of living the 7 habits ever since, Amelia passed away, just with her spirit and with her, what she taught me, so that's why the title of this is I didn't understand this book until I lived this book. Like it's there's a difference between learning and comprehension, and there's a big difference between those two things. You have to go out and you have to do it. Otherwise it means nothing, so yeah, that's the reflection, I guess, for the day. Fun little, maybe not fun story, but interesting story as to as to what this book brought to my life. So yeah, I'd love to pause there, get your thoughts.
Before I guess before I talk about what I'm thinking, I like to put a plug in for the book. I'm not affiliated with the book at all, but I think this book for me is one of my favorite books because you think about it. You mentioned it has a lot of heavy content. This is because it could be 7 books.
Oh yeah, I mean,
right, easily 7 books. And the thing
sure.
is, when you read the first time, there's so much information. The thing is, it's heavy, but it's not complex. It's not hard to understand. The concept and the habits, quote unquote, whatever the habit translates to me, it's like the lessons to live by, or the tool to a tool of a concept as a tool to use in your life to make better. And I think if you can even do one of these habits, your life will be dramatically different, right? Yep. For the better. Because if you can do one of them, it's great. And that's why the thing is, for this book, if you read the second time, because you have already kind of like absorbed like the first pass, the second pass allows you to think about more. And I think these, and for me, when I read the books, I don't necessarily go by the habits of whatever this the book is outlining, it's laying out. I remember, like, for example, you're thinking about the actual example, the concept. For example, you're talking about the golden goose and right, and the eggs, right? The P and PC, right?
Yeah.
PPPC, right?
It makes me
production
think of Sarah,
and product capabilities, right? So things. And another thing is that for even when you take that particular concept and you use it as a tool for you to build your life, I think you're gonna be greatly ahead of the average human being. And I truly believe that, because it's talking about, it's very if you see a simple concept, it's not complex where you can't understand it. It's just there's so much.
You got to take care of yourself first before you can worry about the output. And then, like,
exactly,
like right. It all flows together. Like, if you take care of yourself, and then you can worry about the output, but you can't shift. It's all about balance. It's all about finding that harmony between growth and then learning and understanding and doing. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. Like, you can't,
learning is logical. Understanding is emotional, and I understand why you have this reflection. You say, I didn't understand this book until I've lived this book, because it's a big difference between learning and understanding. Learning means I'm using my brain and my logic and my reasoning to kind of process the idea, the concept. But it's not the same as this thing rings an emotion within me. It brings up the emotion. That emotion is us. We are human beings because of our emotions, right? Our emotion, it makes us remember things, make us things that we can't forget, make us do things that we would normally couldn't explain. And I think that's a big difference between learning and understanding. And for you, because you have lived it, you say, when you live through your atomic bomb and you do things and you read this book again, you say, well, I didn't use his book as a guide, but what he's saying rings true to me.
Right.
And because these things that I'm looking for, like putting first things first, for you, it rings so true just
It's
because
every day. It's all
exactly
day. I mean,
because the moment you think about it, say, well, I mean,
there's nothing else
it's
other than first things
overflowing
first.
with emotion, and your whole body is reacting and responding to this thought, this
Right.
concept, this idea of putting first things first, right? You can't do good unless you take care of yourself, right?
Right.
And so what's important to you for
It's
long
it's
term?
not even that you can't do good. It's you can't do anything that matters to you if you don't put first things first.
Right,
Like
right.
the output, the PC, I guess, of the P and PC balance. Like, who
Mm-hmm.
gives a shit if you're producing a whole lot of stuff that you don't give a shit about? I mean, it doesn't even matter. Like, so if you're not protecting the goose and doing stuff that the goose likes to do, like,
Then
and
there's no
then
golden eggs for you to expect at the end
well,
of the day,
even if
right?
there is a golden egg, I mean, well, I don't even want it. Like, great, I produced a golden egg of selling $100,000 deal for Salesforce or something like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Like, that isn't meaningful work for me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, because
that's
you
not
you value the golden egg before the goose.
right.
And
Exactly.
that's the point. Is
It's
first
somebody
things
else's
first,
golden egg. I
right?
mean, it's their first things first. So
Right.
like that's a huge paradigm change. And that's so like I talk about this a lot of the power of the atomic blast that was what fell on my family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just wipes wipes everything out, right? I mean, like, you're left at nothing, like literally nothing, and
Right.
you're
You're
going, well,
basically standing in a
what's
rubble without any directions. That's
right,
how I imagine it.
and you say, what's the first step that I want to take? And it's not for Salesforce. It's not for, for you. It's not for anybody. I mean, for me, it was for my daughter, but like, and that was, and it's always for my daughter. And then
Mm-hmm.
for me secondarily, and then after that, it's whoever else is, and I guess everybody else after that. Right. Like,
Right.
but it's certainly for damn sure, before this happened in my life, like, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, if this had never happened, A, you and I would never have met, I'm sure. B,
Mm-hmm.
this journey wouldn't exist. I would have, read my 12 books in 2020. I would have forgotten everything I read in this book. And I'm not saying that I like that I wanted what happened in my life to happen, but at the same time, like there's no way that we're having this conversation today without the blast that went off in my life, because I needed,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need to. I was shocked back into a different state, a different paradigm, and
Yes.
that's what it took for me to be shifted to a different paradigm. Otherwise, this would have been meaningless, right? Like, I mean, it's what we hope to do with other people through this whole entire journey and with the Clubany process is to not have them have to go through a atomic blast paradigm shifting event for them to be able to say, I want to live the life that I want to live, right? Like, and to put first things first. Like, this is what I found as we went on through the rest of the next year, and rebuilding from the rubble with intention and purpose with my daughter every single day, and trying my best to just make any sense of my life, and to honor her life. But it's sure that's what came out of this, right? But I don't want that. But we can help other people though, and that's what the lesson that I wanted to get across in this one is like don't just read stuff to read stuff. Like, you have to live it, you have to understand it if you want to learn. Like, there needs to be a bigger focus to what you're trying to do, right? Like, it's not just about reading a book, it's about, do you want to learn? Like, if you want to learn, then you got to go apply stuff, otherwise it's worthless, like it's I mean, don't go to a conference, unless you want to learn or something like that. Don't go
Yeah,
spend
unless you put the thing you
$10,000.
learn to action. Otherwise,
Right.
there's no point in learning it, right? And in order for you to understand it, you have to do it, which is
Mhm.
put into action. So you can go to a conference, say, hey, I went to this mobile development conference, but I don't build anything after that. Then there's no point in going. You're just wasting your money and your time. So
Right.
something with the, I 100% agree with your reflection is you have to live it to understand. If you don't live it, there's no way you understand. You can learn, you can know of it, but you don't understand it. And
Right.
you don't understand it. It doesn't benefit you much because you're not using it. It's like, hey, I have money, but I'm not using the money. Well, it's not gonna do you any good. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I used to do. I'm almost ashamed to admit this now. Just knowing that this is the different paradigm that is our journey together in this life that we're living now. But so I used to listen to like podcasts all the time. They were like educational podcasts. I enjoyed them. Sometimes I would apply some of the lessons, but they were more for entertainment value, I would say. For me personally, they just kind of fed my entertainment goals of hearing good stories. But what I called my learning time, I had this app that is called the Blinkist app. I don't know if you've ever heard of Blinkist in general, but like I would read the 7 habits in 15 minutes on Blinkist. I was like, oh yeah, no, I know, I get the 7 habits. Like, it's fine. I learned the 7 habits, you know, like I know what that means, you know, and I'm like, that was that. I would move on to another book the next day, move on to another book the next day. Like, I don't remember, like, I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to even think that somebody could ever consider that to be learning anything. I mean, yeah, you might be learning something, but to like what is the point of that? Like, you know, like,
well, you can know of the concept, but you don't know what it means. Like I can tell you about the 7 habits. All right, be proactive. Right, what does that mean? I don't know. Is it be proactive?
Like,
Is be proactive, right?
Right.
Whatever it sounds like, but it could be completely different, right? You're talking about like putting first things first. What the hell does that mean?
It means understanding yourself. It means understanding your values. It means.
But how do you understand that through a summary?
Like, it's you don't, like, you have to go put in the time and the work to understand what that means, and then go design your life around literally putting those first things first every single day, you know. And otherwise it's not going to happen. Like, I mean, there's no way in hell, if you hop on that treadmill every single morning and you let Salesforce and your email and your work and you know, outside life and people that are coming over to do service to your house and your kids, and like, I mean, you let all that shit in, like, I mean, it'll, once you jump on that treadmill, like, you can't stop it. I mean, you're on that hamster wheel the rest of the day. So like, by damn sure, it goes back to, I think of like Tuesdays with Maury, right? You know, the perfect day is ordinary. If I'm going to have the best day of my life and I'm going to do, you know, what I said I was going to do and honor my promise to my daughter of living for 2 every single day and trying to live a value driven life and doing what she taught me how to do, I need to get that shit done. Like, cause I don't know when I'm going to, like, it's so hard to, like, even for me at this point in time, we're 2.5 years into this, and, you know, never missing writing, reading, reflection. There's been a handful of days when something, you know, really got in the way where I was like, shit, I really have to skip my morning workout today, and I'll try to cram it in at the end of the day or something like that. Or I didn't get a chance to write right out the gate because we had to get up and, you know, be out the door at 6 a.m. or whatever, and for whatever reason I didn't plan ahead and didn't get up at 4 a.m. to go to sleep earlier the night before or whatever it was. But like, it that feeling that hits you at the end of the day, and you're like shit, like, this is important to me and I didn't do it. Like, and I'm at the end of the day, now I just got to go shove it in. I'm like, that's not how I want to live my life. That's not how I want to be. I'm not going to have my perfect day as ordinary, you know, if the things that I say that matter to me of what brings me joy and allows me to express my values every single day, that I wait until the very end of the day to cram in, you know, at the last 5 seconds, like that's learning the lessons of the 7 habits of highly effective people, right? Like, you only get to learn that by doing it, you know. There's no other way to say it other than that, because it's, you know, you can't, life gets in the way. Like, it's just, you know, as soon as you learn something, it's in one ear and out the other. I mean, true, I'm like 200 plus books into this whole thing. I mean, if you quizzed me on 85% of the books, you know, and certain areas of it, I would be like, I don't remember. Like, but what I do remember from the stuff is the lessons that we talk about and what I've done and applied to my life, you know. But if you just started asking me about, like, you know, bacteria,
the concept that you use, it's gonna stay with you. I mean, for me, it's like I love the P and PC, the golden goose and the egg. That concept I'm living, because I know I'm talking about the emotional bank account, right? To me, that's something that I put into practice. When I do that, it works, and it creates this habit of, hey, this is how I approach my life, right? And so you're talking about like seek to what was it? Seek first to understand, then to be understood, right? I mean, that's a habit, but the notion of having the logic statement of seek first understand to be understood, it's you can understand it, but in terms of how you
Right.
use it, it doesn't mean anything until you actually have put it into practice. Oh, this is what it means. So emotional bank account, right? Every time I do something for somebody, they feel like they are connected to me. They owe me that particular piece. So when you live your life that way, you're gonna have so many favors, so many IOUs in terms of emotional, that people is going to readily going to pay you back when you need them. And think about
Right.
it, when you are mentoring someone, when you're helping someone, you are at a stage where you are able to do that, whether you have a good job or you have the experience or you have some information, you're able to give that without ease, with ease, without having to do a lot. But then when your life goes up and down and then you're at the lowest level, right? When you're at the lowest level, when you're not at a leverage anyway, this is when the more emotional bank account can come in and save you and put you on the top again. Because life's always gonna have the roller coaster. That means that, but whenever you're on the top, you help people to at the bottom. But the thing is, it doesn't go away. It's
Right.
stored into this emotional bank account. And for me, like for what, even for that piece, like I can learn. For me, I just need to learn one or two or three things inside of this book, and I'm forever change the way that I approach my life.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you're right. There's so many things you could pick out of this book. I mean, and honestly, there's a lot in a lot of these books, like, that you could, if you just took one nugget and tried to apply it to your life, you could probably change your life. I mean, hell, even the book that I wrote, if you took a couple nuggets out of that book and tried to, apply it to your life, it could probably change your life. I mean, and that wasn't why I wrote it, but like, I mean, if you really want to listen and apply it to your life, and hear what the author's trying to say, because you're right, this is 40, 50 years, an entire lifetime of Stephen Covey condensing down his wisdom of how he's lived his life, and sharing it with you. Like, this is through
Mm-hmm.
trial and error, and through living it, through understanding it, through comprehending it, and sharing those lessons with you, right?
Right.
But it's up to you to listen, and not just listen, to then go comprehend, to
Right, because
try and put into
actions is
practice and
what
understand.
brings
Right.
understanding. And
Right.
I think to me, as far as this reflection and this lesson is concerned, I mean, if you want to understand, you gotta put the actions. That I don't
Yeah.
think there's any other way to do it.
There
You
is no
can
other
you
way.
can be the smartest person in the world, but it doesn't have a deep meaning. It doesn't evoke an emotion for you. It's not gonna be used. If it's not gonna be used, then there's no point in learning it. So
Right.
learn to understand,
Excuse
right?
me.
So if a lot of times you do is, okay, I've learned last thing. I mean, I read a lot of books and you learn about different concepts, different ideas, different whatever. But when you found the concept, like while you were learning, that you think it could be used, go ahead and apply, because
Right.
the application is the next step, is the step that's going to stick. If you don't do it, there's no point in learning. So I guess learning for me is, I am basically discovering the different concept that's available out there, the different mental models that's available out there. And
Right.
then I'm going to say, oh, well, this mental model I like, this mental model I can use. Now, if I'm going to be to benefit from this new idea, I have to apply.
Right.
And so the lesson for me in this episode is, you gotta put into action. You gotta apply it if
You
you
have to.
want
Or
any
sorry, you don't
change.
have to. Like,
I mean, you don't.
it's worthless if you don't. Like, I mean, it's literally like, you made a great point of like learning. What's the point of knowing all these things? I watch Jeopardy every night. That's the only thing I basically watch it all these days,
Mhm.
because once we get done with this, between 7 and 8, Luca goes to bed. I don't even really watch Jeopardy. I watch like the first 10 minutes of Jeopardy, because then I gotta go put Luca to bed, and like, anyway. But I say it just made me think about watching Jeopardy, and like, I used to always want to be like really good at Jeopardy, because I'm just a competitive person.
Mhm.
I love trivia. Like Trivial Pursuit. Like, put me on a Trivial Pursuit board, and like, it's like on like Donkey Kong kind of thing. And my mentality of like, I will try my damnedest. You know what I mean? And I always took pride in like trying to be pretty good at trivia. I'm okay at it. Like, but like, I'm not like, world class or something like that at like a Jeopardy thing or whatever. These days, I find myself really, really struggling to even focus on anything, I guess, when I'm around Luca, because like, he's doing all this crazy shit. And so I certainly don't have time to like even listen to the category, hear the question, whatever. It's just going on in the background. But like it just reminded me the other day, one of the questions that came up was on Final Jeopardy. I was able to watch it, and it was about cultural genes, and Richard Dawkins, right? And I go, oh, I don't just understand that one. I like know that. And I like went on this like long spiel to Felicia about like what this is and how it all works, and like, how we've been doing this stuff. And I'm like, that made me feel way more proud to know that one answer than in all the 50 that I missed, during that game, because I don't know anything anymore. My brain can't focus. I was like, no, I actually know this. Like, sorry, I don't know anything, but I understand what this is and why and what that concept is, and because we've tried to apply it in multiple ways, and we're trying to build our own culture and trying to do all this other stuff. And that made me feel way more proud than if I would have known every single answer on that Jeopardy board, because I would have been like, this is all useless shit. Like, I don't do it. But that one happened to be a useful thing to me, and I was really proud of that.
Right. And I think like when you're talking about human beings, right, we are always the emotional creature. The emotion what makes you who you are. It's your memory. Think about it. Any emotion you have, the height of your emotion is what you remember the most. So anything you learn that doesn't connect with you emotionally, we forget it.
Right.
Like going through life, you have read more books, but you probably don't remember the title or who wrote it. I guarantee you, right? Sure. Because it doesn't relate to you. It's not, hey, that's something I can use, or that's something that's like me, is connected to me somehow. To evoke an emotion. Without evoking an emotion, you don't remember. It's just basically transient. It's just like passing through. Right. It's not attached.
So one of my favorite reflections that I can't wait to get to someday is Moonwalking with Einstein, and it talks about, it's about this guy that tried to become a competitive memory champion kind of person or whatever, and he learned how these people, what's the trick to like having the best memory, and it's really who can be the most creative. It's who can be the most, use their imagination the best, because you're right, you got to tie it to an emotion, to a memory, to a story, to a place, to something, right, that is vivid in your mind, that you will never forget. Like we don't think in numbers, we think in stories, we think in our imagination, we think in whatever, you know what I mean? So like when I hear put first things first, that's not just like words to me. Like that is vividly waking up every single day. It reminds me of every morning waking up, staring at my my journal and seeing the why, and seeing,
but there's an emotion to it. I mean,
I mean,
there's emotion to when you say, hey, putting first things first, the emotion wakes you up. Say, hey, the image comes up. It's going to be so vivid, because the emotion caused your memory to say, this is important. I'm going to have to remember. I'm going to store it into my long-term memory. Exactly. And so that's, to me, is the reason why you have to put into action, to evoke that emotion. Because if I know there's a bunch of tools out there, let's say I'm a handyman, I'm a woodworker, or I'm a whatever, right? I know so many tools that can do things, but the thing is, the tools is not in my tool belt.
Right.
I know of it, but I don't have it.
Right.
That's me no good.
Yeah.
Right. You think about it, right?
Oh yeah.
So how do you get the tool in the toolbox? Is you have to make sure it's attached to you in the emotion, and for you to utilize the concept when you need them, because otherwise, I don't know why I didn't think of it, because it's not attached to emotion. So it's only after the fact that I say, hey, why didn't you use this? Why didn't you use that? Well, it didn't occur to me. Right. Because you know of it, but it's not in your tool belt. You can't apply it when a situation arises.
You have to train your elephant, right? And it just, what you just said, like the tools in the toolkit, I think of that of like tennis all the time, right? Like I know how to hit a backhand slice. I know when to use a backhand slice. My elephant does not know when to do it in a competitive match. It just doesn't. Like it is not a tool that I have in my toolbox. The only way that I will ever get better at leveraging that tool and knowing when to deploy it effectively is if I deliberately train the shit out of myself and force myself to do it over and over and over again until my elephant goes, okay, I feel comfortable deploying this subconsciously, in the middle of a match, without even thinking about it, right? Like, and it takes a long time. Like, I mean,
When
like,
our body works in what the way that in my opinion, in my own world, of course, that what I think that how the body works is the body only respond to a trigger. That's all it does.
Yeah,
it responds to a trigger.
I agree. I mean,
right?
100%.
When it does have the same combination and configuration, that triggers something and it responds to it. That's all it does. So you want to use that and apply the concept into that, and so that whenever you have a trigger, it's going to respond to that in the exact design that you want. So you have to put into action for that to get written into the mental, the mind, the subconscious. Like the elephant, you have to train the elephant, which is a synonym for the subconscious. I'm kind of pausing because I was wondering, did we talk about thinking fast and slow before?
Yeah, that was one
okay,
of the
okay.
like
Yeah, okay.
15,
Then I can talk about, because the subconscious is system one, right? That's the elephant, right? It's automatic. It responds when it is enough trigger to trigger that and it responds to it. So elephant is the same way. But the system two is your subconscious. You can take whatever you have. That's your learning. Yeah, you're learning, right? You're learning it. Hey, these are concepts I know. But in order for you to use it, it has to transmit and transcribe into system one, which is the subconscious, i.e. the elephant. The rider is system two, the elephant is system one. So you have to make that transition. So to me, the lessons we are talking about in this particular episode is doing just that. You can't just having that subconscious, because subconscious is limited in how much it can hold in terms of the memory capacity it has. So eventually, if you don't use it to transcribe it into the subconscious, i.e. training the elephant, then it's not going to be used, because your body will always going to respond to the training of whatever subconscious is hold as what its instruction needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, for me, my elephant has been trained hard by this book around being proactive, putting first things first, sharpening the saw. Like now the other ones are important, like, but for me personally, like, seeking win-wins and synergies and whatever. So like those ones are still a work in progress.
It's one of those things where we have things that are closely more important to us than other in terms of priority.
Right.
Once we can master these concepts, then the other thing become more important. Because right now for us is in our stage in life is we want to put first things first, because that's not in order.
Well, we always want to. You want to, then you just want to move past that as like that's just an automatic. Yes. And then you can start to focus
once you transcribe into the subconscious, it runs on its own. You are programming the subconscious. Say, hey, these are the instructions and how you put first things first. You don't have to think about it. It just does it. Say, hey, why am I exercising every day? Why am I reading every day? Well, it's like, okay, I'm asking you. I mean, this is not something that's hard to do. It's like, life getting away, bullshit, right?
Right.
It's a, hey, think about it. If you say eating lunch is important to me, have you ever missed lunch? And when you miss lunch, how does that make you feel?
Pretty shitty.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
You're right.
It's like, okay, I have to go and find food.
So that's funny.
And then I have to chew on it,
Right.
The thing about it, the process of eating is not trivial.
That's pain in the ass, right?
Right.
Takes a while.
But we do it every single day without miss, regardless of what happened. Like I'm sick, or I'm still gotta eat.
Yeah, you're right. Well, so that's funny you say that, because that would be in a quad one activity, you know, urgent and
But to me, eating is first things
important.
first.
Well, it's urgent and important.
It's not
right?
urgent. It's
Yeah.
not urgent. You can
Yeah, it is.
go. I can go for a month without dying.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's
Not
urgent for most people.
it's not no, because but thing is because you have trained your subconscious. You know this is
That's true.
important.
Right.
Therefore, when you skip lunch, the
Yeah,
body
yeah.
will tell you, say, hey, you know, don't
Yeah, you're
skip
good. That's
lunch.
a good point. All right. All right. Fair
I mean,
enough, I
I
guess.
fasted for 5 days, no
Right.
problem. The first day is hell. My body is saying, what? It's like, what are you hell are you doing? And then the third day, whatever, it's say, yeah, no problem. Like, and
Right.
I go look online. People have fasted for 40 days. There's a guy who's like 300 pounds and fasted for a year.
A year?
Yeah, and he has enough fat to sustain him through that.
Holy
He's
shit.
really fat. David Blaine fasted for I don't know 30 days or whatever, 45
Wow.
days.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like
Oh, you're right.
It's
Actually,
not urgent. Urgent means like you're gonna die, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not
No,
urgent. It's just that because you program your brain, your elephant say you need it because it's important for you to prolong
yeah, it's a
this.
habit. I mean, you know, it's a
So
habit.
whenever
It's a
you
good
skip
habit.
lunch, it when you pass, like, you know, let's say you eat at 12 o'clock and like at 2 o'clock you haven't eaten, your body's gonna tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Right.
mean, that's a good point. I guess I never really thought about that. You're right. So I guess eating could be considered a first things first activity, you know.
It is. But the thing is,
well,
once
you're
you
right,
train
yeah.
the elephant, hey, I have to exercise.
Yeah.
And because the subconscious eventually it's gonna learn, hey, you keep doing it means it's important to you. Therefore, I'm gonna help you do it. Therefore, that I'm going to adjust my algorithm so that whenever you miss them, I'm gonna let you know somehow. So a lot of
You know,
people
it's
want to
funny,
get into their habit, and then whether it's raining or whatever,
Right.
it's not gonna
You find a
stop you
way.
from exercise.
Right. You just find a way. Like if you're, you know,
If you're hungry, you're gonna
it's-
find a way to eat.
No, you're right. Yeah. I mean, it's funny you say that because it's the weekends I'm like I have to actively at least on Saturday for sure I have to actively force myself to take a day off for resting for my body. So let's call it fasting from working out, right? You know,
Mhm.
and I fail all the time. Like I'm like I don't want to. Like I want to go outside. Like I mean I want to go play tennis. I want to go do something, you know, whatever. Like and I can't friggin' stop myself at this point in time because my
Right,
elephant
because you
like
think
just
about
craves it,
eating,
you know?
right? You're
But,
eating every day, and you're telling your body, you're telling your subconscious, eating is important, and I need to eat every day. That's the rhythm, right? And then you say,
Right.
I'm going to take the weekend off. Well, it's going to say, I don't know.
I don't think so. I kind of like it.
But you
know?
could,
Yeah.
just like you
Right.
you playing tennis or you doing exercise, and then you take a day on the weekend and say, I don't, it feels weird, right?
Yeah. No,
So
it would feel really weird. You know, I might try that as my monthly challenge, you know, is to do a reverse monthly challenge where I you know, do like a fast for, you know, one day a week or whatever, where it's not all the time because I can't monthly challenge a fast every single. I mean, I guess I can do intermittent fasting, but anyway, that neither here nor there.
you could intermittent, you can do from 16, 24 to 48
I don't want to do
hours.
that though. I don't want to do that. That doesn't align to anything that I want to do. So, but
I'm just saying the concept of like, hey, things getting in the way and all that. I don't think that's enough of an excuse to say, well, because if you transcribe the instruction for your subconscious, it's gonna find a way to do it.
okay, I'll make a deal with you. I know fasting is important for you. I'll try to read a book at some point in time on this journey and see if I enjoy that, and then maybe I'll make intermittent fasting one of my monthly challenges or something like that. If I learn enough in that book where it piques my interest,
it's all about I mean, I don't take up what I do because you
that's the
want
point of the
to
challenge.
you want to challenge. You do because you think it's something that, you know, it's good for you.
I mean, that's one of my.
I mean, that's the point of learning. You're learning
right.
on a conscious level. I say, I am trying to expose myself to different ideas and concept, and then pick and choose a concept that applies to you, that is important to you. Like you do the Wim Hof breathing or whatever the case, because you wanted something out of that. And then you're going to implement in action, apply the concept to you in your life to make the changes that you want to have. Don't do it just because, hey, you know, I want to challenge True. I want to challenge.
You're missing the point of the whole monthly challenge thing for me. One of my core values is challenge yourself. So like I get all the
Well,
benefits of the world, even if I don't like
I
it or
think
not. You know?
my definition of challenge is different, because for me it's like, hey, the challenge is like, okay, fasting is important to me, so I'm gonna say the challenge would be I'm gonna do something that's beneficial, but I'm gonna challenge. Say, hey, let's say I'll do a 16 hours fast. I'm gonna challenge myself to do a 40-hour fast. That's a challenge.
Right.
But the challenge for the sake of challenging to me is not the definition that I'm thinking about. I don't know about you, but the
That's
challenge
fine.
for me is
that's the point of values, though, is you can make
if
up whatever
I
definition you want to make up.
if
Right? I mean, well, as long as it makes you happy, and it does, it makes me happy, because I love like just see, like my whole thing is I love finding value in a new activity. If I find it, if I don't find it, then I'm not gonna like this month I'm wrapping up the tidying for the month. You know, the Swedish death cleaning.
are you gonna keep doing it?
No, I mean I can't. Like I don't have anything more to tidy. Like yesterday I was running around the house going, I don't have anything to do out tidy. Like, you know, because I have like 2 more days left on this challenge, right? So like I'm like really relieved that it's over, because I'm like I'm out of shit to tidy right now, you know.
So the thing that's for me, that's what for me is the things that I pick up is because I think I could incorporate into my life like forever.
Oh, I regularly tidy I clean up, like,
No,
you
but
know,
I'm saying is
but
like,
I'm
for
talking about
example,
tidying, you know?
if I suspect that fasting is gonna help me with first things first and help me with giving my body the ability to heal itself, then if I and I go and I challenge myself to do it, and I could do it, and I find result that is benefit for me, it's not gonna stop. And so I'm trying to find something that I can incorporate into the regimen versus, hey, I challenge just because, you know, I want to try it.
That's why your first things first is different than my first things first. Like, you know, and that's what makes us all beautiful, right? Like it is what it is. You know, I enjoy just random trying out stuff and seeing if it aligns. Like like I said, I'm more of a, I've told you this a million times. I'm more of a wing it wonder, you know, like, I mean, I'll just, I'll find the fit if it fits, you know, but like, I don't want to intelligently go look for that one activity to go challenge, because I don't know, it just takes too much time. I'm like, I'll just dive in, see what happens.
And that makes us the opposite of each other, because
right.
You're more of a creative type, and I'm more of a very logical,
Systematic. Yeah. Like,
very systematic, right?
Well, I don't think that I'm not systematic. I just am systematic in a very
it's always a what I call a blend, right? Because you are a blend of 80-20. I'm a blend of the opposite of 20-80, right?
Exactly.
It's always a blend, whether it's 70-30, 60-40, 50-50, whatever. Everybody has a blend. It's not to say that you couldn't do it. It's to say that, hey, the other person by default naturally is going to stay in the big portion of it. Like, you're going to be systematic like 60% of the time,
right? If
you do 60-40, right?
Yep.
And then you say, oh, can I switch to the 40? Yeah, I could. But, you know, if I don't consciously think about it, then I'm probably gonna be in the 60, just because that's where my default resting stage or phase is at, right? That's my elephant. My elephant is to
and my elephant just tells me to go, hey, go try it.
Yeah.
See what happens. But anyway, all right. So fun conversation, obviously, and I'm excited to talk about the next, you know, 4 of these reflections. I think I have them set up on this to just do them back to back to back. So we're going to be talking about 7 habits for the next full week. So
yeah, I think it's good to do back to back, because, you know, I think if anybody's reading along and want to understand more than just what they can get from the book, you know, this is a great place to be to tune in.
Yep, for sure. So I'm excited to keep going down this journey as always, but specifically around 7 habits. And the question we can leave for everybody is, what knowledge have you been sitting on that could use a little real world reinforcement to help improve your understanding? So don't just learn shit, go out and try it, figure out if it
we don't know shit, elephant. Just try shit,
right?
And do shit.
Right. Let your elephant, you know, figure this shit out, you know, see if your elephant enjoys it or not.
Right.
So awesome. All right. Well, we will talk to you all on
Monday.
I guess Monday. Yep. Well, no, actually that's a 4th of July. We'll talk about it, but anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or next
right.
episode.
Yeah, I'll see you all in the next episode.
All right. Good night.